So I just recorded this whole lesson and realized that I paused it about 3 minutes in, so now I get to do it all over again. Woohoo! We're going to watch a video and experiment with Noteflight Learn today. At the beginning of the year, we use Noteflight Learn, so when you log in, you might see that you have a project already created. When we did articulation, we created some quarter notes and we added things like staccato and marcato and tenuto, and just practiced using those articulations using Noteflight. So when you open this, it might look familiar. If it doesn't, that's okay. We're starting from scratch. We're going to learn how to experiment with Noteflight Learn today. So I'm going to show you this video, and I'm going to pause the video as it goes through, and I'm going to show you in Noteflight how those things work. And I would encourage you as well to watch this video while you're doing your work and just pause it and do some experimenting in between. And then that way you don't have to watch the whole video and go back and look for things that you missed. So start the video, pull up Noteflight assignment, which will be in Google Classroom. It will be called Let's Make a Mess. And that assignment will be found in Google Classroom, Lesson 4, Required Assignments, April 22nd. When you're finished, submit your experiment for a completion grade, 16 points. And I will also go through and show you the rubric that is in Google Classroom under the post Lesson 4, Required Assignments, April 22nd. And that rubric will tell you how to earn your 16 points. Watch your video on how to attach the assignment and submit in Google Classroom. That's a video I created a couple weeks ago, but I will attach it again just in case you're having trouble figuring out how to turn in your assignment. So let's get started.
Learning all the areas of Noteflight, getting to know it for the first time, and it's going to end up being a huge mess, and that's okay, and it's actually a little bit fun. So in this case, we're going to go through all the various options and actions in the Noteflight score palette and all the different actions you can take on music, and I challenge you to try to use as many as possible in one single page. So in Noteflight, if you go over on the left, here's the menu, and all of these menus have various actions. So there's a score menu, an edit menu, duration, rhythm, pitch, and you can see all these work. Now, what I'd like you to do is try to use as many of these as possible in one page.
Okay, so I have my blank assignment, Let's Make a Mess, which you will also have in Google Classroom. And I'm going to show you what he's talking about over here on mine under the hamburger menu. If it has a check mark next to it, that means it's also up here in your main toolbar. So if you wanted something to be available a little quicker than using the hamburger menu, you will just put a check mark next to it. Like, for example, rhythm. Now, rhythm will be part of my toolbar. It's right here. If I want to get rid of it, I can either click on the name of it, or I can check and uncheck it down here in the hamburger menu. So I'm going to show you a little bit more of the video so that he shows us how to get some notes started, and then we'll try it.
And it's going to be messy and it's going to be crazy, but this will be fun to see how you can make it work. Bonus points if it actually sounds like cool music. So the first thing I like to do is enter as many notes as possible and try to maybe get all the chromatic notes within the staff. So you just entered a G here. I'm going to go ahead and type A, B. Now I'm going to go to duration and make these eighth notes. So I could go B, and then we can go over and do a C, D, E. Now maybe we can make these 16th notes. So I'll go back and you'll see duration's now pinned to the top. So I can make this a 16th. And then I can keep typing 16th notes.
All right, so let's try a little bit of what he just did. I'm going to start with an F. I want my next note to be a G. So now that I've started putting notes on the staff, I can just use my keyboard to type the letter G, and it will put a G on the staff. It's really helpful if you're still struggling with your treble clef or bass clef notes. If you don't know exactly where the G is supposed to go, you can just type the letter G and it will put it where it needs to go. And then I'm going to change some of my note duration. So I'm going to change this note to a eighth note and eighth note. My next note, I'm going to put B. I'm going to change that to a B flat by using the pitch bar because I'm in the key of F. So do, re, mi, fa. And then let's see, I have one more quarter note worth of beats in this measure. So I'm going to do a C and then D, E, F, G. Now I'm going to change some of these notes to 16th notes. D, E, F, G. All right, let's see what else we can do here to make a mess.
And maybe I can go back down. Now I'm going to use the bracket key to make this now a half note. Now here's another trick if you want to enter notes. You can use the R key to repeat, and then you can use the up and down arrows. The other trick about up and down arrows, if you hold down Shift, it moves chromatically.
Okay, so I'm going to try that. In this measure, I'm going to make 4 C's, but instead of typing C 4 times, I want the C down here, I'm going to do C, and then I'm going to push R, which repeats the note. Now, if I want this last note that's still highlighted in red to be a C sharp, I'm going to do what he said. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and the up button. Now that's a C sharp. So there's more than one way to add a sharp. They're up here in the pitch as well. You can just add the sharp that way or take it away. But you can also use that Shift key to change your note up or down chromatically, which means it uses all the sharps and flats and not just the natural notes. So that's kind of a cool feature.
So if you want to do something chromatic, I can make an E flat here because I've already used an E right there. Let me see, maybe I can add a D flat. So let's just do this. Hit R for repeat, and I can go down to D, Shift, down to D flat, and so on. You can also repeat whole measures, and you can always put notes.
So if I wanted to repeat a whole measure, I just click on the measure instead of on a note. And when I clicked on that measure, the whole thing turned red. Now, if I want to repeat that, I just push the R key. If I want to copy it, I do Control C, and then I could even paste it down here in the bass clef. Now look how high up those ledger lines are. So what I'm going to do instead of leaving the ledger lines like that is I'm going to push the down key until those notes are in the bass clef and a little bit more manageable as far as reading them is concerned. There's not as many ledger lines, so they're much easier to read.
In the bass clef, I'm going to copy, Command C, paste, and then I'm going to move these notes way down. So you can see how quick it is to enter notes. Now, you'll just go through and see what can we do to these notes. Well, we'll experiment with all various durations. Maybe we'll put some dots in here. So let's go ahead and add a rhythm dot. There's one we can do. We could double dot this note. That'll be fun. This is just going to get real messy real fast. Oh, let's tie some notes together. So to do a tie, I need 2 notes of the same pitch. So let me go in and do a tie here. Let me see here. Let's put a tie on that. Now I've tied those 2 C's together. You see, I'm just going down the palettes and I'm making a big old mess. Ooh, put a sharp there. All right, so now.
All right, I'm going to do some of those things that he just talked about. I'm going to add a tie because I have 2 C's in a row. So I'm going to go to my rhythm tool. Oh, is it rhythm? Uh-oh, it's not rhythm. Where did he say that was? Duration. There it is. Okay, so we're going to tie those 2 notes together. I'm used to using a software called Sibelius, which is a little bit different. And so I'm learning this right along with you. So if you have questions, if I can't answer them, I will find the answer. I will help you to figure out where these symbols are. So let's see, we're going to add a dot. So I'm going to go back to that duration tool again, and I'm going to add a rhythm dot. And it took away my note because it didn't fit there anymore. So I'm going to put a G back in there, but I'm going to make it an 8th note. Notice that the note that you're playing with or working with is always going to be red. So that's kind of the way of highlighting the note. If I want this note to do something specific, then I need to make sure that it's red and highlighted. And then I can add sharps, flats, staccato, legato, dots, change the note value, and so forth. Let's see some more here.
You have double sharps. You can use all of that. So now we have tempo changes. We can put a accelerando here, put a fermata. Now, some of these we probably should be a little more musical. So if we're going to use a fermata, I'd probably use it actually at the end. That kind of sounds nice. There's breath marks, caesura. Now text. There's all types of text you can use, right?
All right, going back here, I'm going to add one more measure here. So let's see, that's a B flat. And then I'm going to do maybe 4 C's because I want to show you how to add some staccatos to the end here. Let's go first and use that duration tool again where he was showing us the rhythm dots. And add one more note with a rhythm dot here at the end. And then under tempo, we can change the speed of the note. So if I want this to be slower, I make the note lower because this means how many beats there are per minute. So that means 80 beats per minute. That's a little bit faster than 1 beat per second. Let's say I want it to be 120, which would be more like 2 beats per second. It goes a little bit faster. And then I can move that or change it in whatever measure that I want to change it in. So select the measure where I want to change it and then change the tempo. I'm also going to add a fermata here on the end. Remember, the fermata makes the note hold as long as the composer wants it to be held, the conductor wants it to be held, or the soloist wants it to be held. Caesura is something some of the classes talked about. It's like a break for excitement or tension or suspense. It's just kind of like a rest that doesn't have an exact amount of time. Breath marks are really useful if you're doing a choir piece. So far we've looked at duration, whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, the rhythm dots, ties. Experiment with any of these things. You can't make a mistake. Sharps, flats, and naturals. The tempo or the speed of the song. Accelerando means to gradually get faster. Retardando means to gradually get slower. And then I think the next thing he's going to talk here about text and lyrics.
So we should do some lyrics. So we can put lyrics on some of this. So we'll put a lyric here. Text, lyric. Hi. You can enter lyric text. You can enter text just above notes. So we'll go regular performance text. This is an F. But this assignment's going to be an A. So now as you see, you can change measures, change clefs here. Let me just go ahead and try to add some more measures here. I'm just going to hit R to repeat, and repeats all of these measures. I'm just going to delete what's in here. I'm just selecting the measures and hitting delete. So anyway, this is just a fun way to go through. So you have dynamics, repeat signs. Let's go ahead and add a repeat in this measure. Let's do a start repeat and an end repeat.
All right, I'm going to put an end repeat at the very end of my song here. I highlighted the double bar, and I'm going to change it so it's an end repeat. You also see the segno and the coda and the first and second endings that we were just talking about before we left school. So those are some things that you can add in if you wanted to do something a little bit more advanced. You can add the text in the lyrics. So let's see. I'm going to just type in I'm making a mess. Now it's added some words to my notes here. I can also change this by clicking on it just to reflect my name as the composer.
That'll be fun. And then we get into ornaments too. So I'm going to move this up. And let's make this a half note. And now we can make an ornament and do a trill.
Ornaments are a little bit more common in band or instrumental music and not so much in choir music, but feel free to try them to see what they sound like.
That'll be fun. Arpeggios. And then you have all these different note heads, right? So we can even go in here.
Note heads are also used mostly in instrumental music to show different rhythms and for like jazz and things like that, but you can experiment with those and see what they sound like.
And we'll make these eighth notes. I'm going to go repeat down and make a descending scale real quick. And then we can change each of these notes. So we'll make this stemless. Well, that didn't really do much. Let's make this a slash. Let's make this note a hit. Let's make this note across. Look at this. So you can add an upper voice as well. So this means you can have two different voices in the same staff.
All right, this is really useful for choir music. If you wanted to add, like, for example, in class, the soprano and alto are usually on the same line, but the soprano notes have the stems going up and the alto notes have the stems going down. So if I wanted to add a lower voice, I would go to voice and click lower voice. And now it's added a new line of music down here for me. And I can create myself an alto part. Maybe I'll use a different rhythm for the alto than I did for the soprano. And then when I play that back, I'll see if I like what it sounds like. It moved the lyrics up here because those lyrics are going with this first part, but I could add those lyrics down here as well just by going back to the text tool while the bottom voice is highlighted, and I can type the same lyrics down here. Oops. Okay. Almost done here.
So we can have an upper voice, and now we can have a whole note on top of all these other notes. You can even do guitar tab and then all of these various lines. The one thing I think would be really fun is all these different jazz effects too, because we can add like rips and falls. So maybe we take our high here and we take our jazz articulation and we can do some sort of doit up, or we can do a rip right into it. So all of these different things. So I challenge you to make the biggest mess possible and see who can use the most elements of the Noteflight palette as possible in a single page, and bonus points if it sounds awesome. Have fun.
All right, I'm going to do one more thing to mine here before we play it. I'm going to add some articulation, some staccatos. So this will make those notes short. And then I'm going to see what my recording sounds like up here in the top left corner where it says play. Oh, hold on 1 second. I have to go back to the beginning. Let's click the beginning and play. Now, if I didn't like something, I could really easily just go back and change what it is that I don't like. For example, maybe I don't like that it got slower here. Maybe I want it to stay fast. So I'm just going to go back to edit, and then I can delete the slower tempo and keep it going fast the entire time. I'll select the beginning and play it again. I like that a little better. And now I can kind of decide, what do I like the best? How did I create that sound, and how can I create it in a new way so that my song sounds really cool? In the next video, I'm going to show you guys the rubric, and we're going to walk through it together so that you can see what I'm expecting. You're not being graded on whether or not your song sounds good. I just want to see, did you experiment? Did you try out some things? Did you use different notes and rhythms and articulations? And did you really experiment or, make a real musical mess? The last thing that we want to do before we close out is to click save. And then that will save our project. And I will also show you in a moment how to turn in your assignment so that I will get it through the Google Classroom.